I really don't think, I always say this. Yes, there may be a lacuna in our laws, but the lacuna is not such that we have the time to allow political considerations to take over this issue. Don't forget, the incumbent governor, will stop performing under the law, must stop performing under the law. Is it 30 or 60 days? To the date of swearing in the new person. Now, INEC has 14 days to receive another name and fix another date. Not 14 days now to do all that, meaning that they have like 21 days to organize, to sort out this election in total. Now, between this time and the period when you submit an issue for the Attorney General to decide, and don't forget, the Attorney General is presumably an APC person. That takes into perspective the cry all over that, look,
for separation of the office
should be separated. Right now, what will this Attorney General say that will be acceptable to PDP sympathizers? So whatever he says, and the Attorney General, yes, he's the chief law officer of the Federation, but there will be people, there are as many views as there are as many lawyers. No two lawyers will say the same thing the same way in Nigeria of today. So if the Attorney General says, oh, this is the position of the law, somebody will then sue the Attorney General and the chairman of INEC and say, no, I'm not taking that. And we ask for stay, that nothing should happen in respect of Kogi election. And that will then make the constitutional issue very, very, very terrible.
You know, I'm seeing a big logjam, to borrow that word from you now, because if you look at it, you've been able to look at it from different angle, octopussy in nature. If you go this way, definitely you meet a stumbling block. You come this way, you meet another stumbling block. But now is the time for us to start asking the question about the role or responsibility of having a running mate or a deputy governor, but in this case still a running mate because the elections are not over yet. What are the roles of running mates in cases like this?
Well, a lot, they've been described in so many ways, but the most interesting one is they are called spare tires, right? You remember Atiku and former President Obasanjo, and that issue went to the Supreme Court, whether, look, it's a joint ticket, it's not a joint ticket, whether you can simply throw him out like garbage and all that. A lot of these issues were resolved in favor of the vice president then. Now, yes, they have roles delimited under the Constitution, but most of those roles are roles ascribed to them by the governor. So a governor who has fallen out with a deputy governor can simply render him redundant. The Ogun State governor, last year they had an issue, Amosu and his deputy, and there was a lot of shouts on the pages of newspapers, on television, where the man was complaining that, oh, he has been relegated to the background, he has nothing to do. I think the time has come. Now, we wouldn't have this logjam if it is agreed that the deputy governor can simply step in at any point in time for whatever reason.
In other words, the Constitution should be worked out to give specific roles to the
specific roles to the deputy governor. You are giving so much power. The governor can turn his chief of staff to the deputy governor if he so chooses. The governor can treat a female deputy governor like his wife if he so chooses. Because the governor can decide that you only attend matters relating to women because you are a woman. Or matters relating to education, oh, you are a mother, that's what you fit. But there's nothing that says that a woman cannot think better than a man. In fact, I'm one of those who believe that this country will get out of the woods the day a woman rules the country. And I look forward to that day. I hope I'm alive when that happens.
So in this case, inconclusive nature of this particular election, no clear-cut role of a running mate, and looking at section 36(1) and of course 33, talking about substitution, there's also the argument between, giving us the example of the Amechi argument between the party supremacy and the candidate supremacy. What do you think should be the case in this case, knowing full well that we don't have a clear winner? Are we likely to see a fresh election with timelines, given to the parties to field fresh candidates, if that would be the solution?
Yes, you've said it all. Personally now, and I don't want to start quoting sections of the law because that confuses the people who really matter here. When lawyers get into the courts, we can start banding provisions and sections. But to make it clear-cut, I'm a Nigerian, and I also have a stake. And I believe that the solution here, without going into specifics of law, is, of course, the law allows APC to substitute. If I was a party man, an APC party man, why can't they just push the deputy governor, submit his name and let the party add somebody to join him? Of course, that would create the political problem in Kogi State where, it's not the time for a Christian to be this, the Yorubas are minorities. But I believe that we can start with that. When APC submits a name, I don't agree that, the party has gotten the votes. More often than not, people vote for a particular person, not a particular party. And that's where the Rotimi Amechi case keeps giving us problems. So what I would look forward to is a situation where there will be another election in all the polling units all over again between whoever has been put forward by APC as against all the other parties, so that the people, the electorate themselves, can make up their minds about who they want as their governor in Kogi State.
Well, the whole picture here you painted, I know we're almost out of time. It's like we really have to take a deeper look at the Constitution and the Electoral Act to work it because of certain situations like this that might arise. Is that where we should be headed now?
Well, you see, it's part of growing democracy. There's no way our laws as a growing democratic nation could envisage every scenario. But when situations arise, we have to be proactive. Now, beyond all the squabbles we are seeing in our legislative houses, especially at the federal level, this is an opportune moment for the lawmakers to tell Nigerians, to pass a message across that there is actual change in the air. It's not change at the executive level alone. This has happened. The pace that the legislative houses at the federal level, the speed with which they react to what has happened is very important. And I would want to see a situation where they say, okay, the simple truth is this. The law never envisaged a situation where before declaration of a winner, one of the two joint candidates dies. So, assuming that it happens again, what do we want to do? They should forget partisanship. They should not allow the provisions, the cumbersome provisions in the Constitution for amending the Constitution. They should not allow that to deter them. It has happened in Kogi State. It may happen in any other. It may happen at the federal level. Let us not start importing doctrines of necessity all the time. So this calls not for a restatement of the law, but for an amendment of the law, of the Electoral Act, and possibly the Constitution. They should immediately, Nigerians are speaking. This has happened. In a situation like this, the deputy governor should take over. In a situation like this, the party should bring in a fresh person. In a situation like this, the votes that have been garnered should count, and the election should continue in respect of the rest. All these things, maybe Section 36 or Section 31 should now have Section 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to cover all this, or Section 36, 3, 4, 5, 6 to take care of situations like this. That is what I expect.
In closing, in moving forward, a lot of issues. I'm excited that you've said that you don't want to bore people with all of those legal jargons so that people can best understand this. We know people are already mourning in Kogi State, irrespective of camp, and this is one, touchy issue for them. But for the political parties and the electoral umpire, definitely there must be something that you would love to say to INEC on this, looking at the preparations. For some, they have argued that if all had gone according to plan, logistics-wise, without wasting a bit of time, maybe, and they had done what they would want to call watertight, measures, perhaps before then we would have had a winner in that particular election. Why is it that every time there's an election, the results are always delayed, just the way we've seen in Kogi State?
Yes, because the logjam we're in is such that really, if INEC had done its job, it's not every time they talk about logistics, they talk about ballot snatching, they talk about people changing figures and all that. It's a scenario that keeps repeating itself. This is just an election in respect of a state. It's not the old federation. And yet, what had always happened has repeated itself to create a situation that is rather volatile. I agree with you to the extent that INEC should start being proactive. INEC should start taking decisions. It's a body that is supposed to be totally independent. In simple terms, his views are, in tandem with mine, that there should be a fresh election all over. You cannot begin to appropriate votes that were garnered by Audu, which is running mate, and you say, okay, anybody coming in should be assumed to have been voted for. He should have 200,000 votes based on his party, because the people actually, if in terms of whether you want to determine whether the man was well loved, he was the one that the people voted for. And it does not necessarily follow that if you present another person, the person may get that much vote. So in all this, my view is, let there be a fresh election with the new candidate to be presented by APC, so that the electorate, who actually matter most in a democratic process, would have the final say.
John Oloyede, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Another moment here to look at another perspective on the matter. Stay with us.